Hello, my name's Gavin and this is Genre Books, and this is a very quick video to recap what I read this week during the Wasted Weekend. The Wasted Weekend is Garb August 2.5, an extension of the Garb August event run by Criminoli for the past couple of years, and whereas Garb August you'll spend an entire month reading through all kinds of trashy literature, in the Wasted Weekend you try to condense it all down into a couple of days. The first book I read this weekend was The Bermuda Triangle by Charles Berlitz, a non-fiction, and I use that term advisedly, account of the Bermuda Triangle, the mysterious area of ocean which accounts for a number of mysterious disappearances of ships, many of which are detailed here. The Bermuda Triangle is a mid-70s book, and it's odd that the improvement in technology, in black box technology for aeroplanes and for various GPS and navigational aids for boats, have seen a massive drop off in the disappearances from this spooky area of the ocean. But Charles Berlitz tries to blame or theorise that just about anyone was involved with the disappearance. It could be normal weather events, he posits in an early chapter. Is there a logical explanation? I believe that chapter is called. And then the following chapter is all about time-space warps. And then come the UFOs. And then comes Atlantis. And then come the underwater UFOs and their crystal lasers. At the beginning of the book, some of the details of the disappearances are occasionally genuinely spooky. It's not until the theorising begins in earnest that the whole project seems to fall apart. Charles Berlitz has plenty of ideas of what might be behind these disappearances, and everything is thrown against the wall in the hope that something sticks. He has a prehistory bent to the last half of the book. In this respect, it's very much like a book I read last year by Donald Leslie and George Adamski called The UFOs Have Landed, or The Flying Saucers Are Among Us, or something similarly striking, in that we start looking at potential explanations and cover-ups, and then everything is just cited without references, without any proper checking of facts. There's a bibliography to this book, but there are no citations in the actual text, just mentions that something could be interpreted in a particular way. Thanks are given at the end of the book to a number of individuals and groups, including the Society for the Investigation of the Unexplained, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, a pyramidologist, and ISIS, but not that one. So instead of giving actual proof, he cites potential interpretations of anything from the Loch Ness Monster, Nazca lines, the Mahabharata, the Book of Ezekiel, Plato, climate change, hieroglyphs of ancient Egyptians holding massive light bulbs, and Maya carvings of spaceships. The Bermuda Triangle is one of a number of books that Berlitz wrote from the mid-70s right up until the 1990s, and the titles of some of these books give you an idea of where his life went once he'd sold the family firm, which was the Berlitz language courses. Books include Without a Trace, which was an expansion of the Bermuda Triangle book, Atlantis, The Lost Ship of Noah, where he literally tries to become a raider of a lost ark, The Philadelphia Experiment, and The Roswell Incident. Forcing interpretations of ancient UFOs to people like the Hopi, or looking at what could be prehistorical but futuristic and modern societies, citing a 40,000-year-old skull found in Zambia with what he is convinced are bullet holes in it. The book does start with strong, spooky accounts of disappearances, and even a couple of eyewitness accounts of strange phenomena. But it rapidly descends into a morass of suppositions and massive leaps of illogic. But the Bermuda Triangle is Hegel's phenomenology of spirit compared to the second book I read for the Wasted Weekend. The Waters of Death is a 1967 novel which details the exploits of our hero, Dr. Robert Wilde, a maverick scientist in a futuristic world where individuality is banned, who is given one more chance by the world leaders to go out to the Caribbean and investigate why the harvests of the sea farmers in an area not too far from the Bermuda Triangle are dwindling. Should harvests continue to decrease at the rates that they are, half the planet is going to starve, and they need to find out why, or more than likely find a scapegoat where our Dr. Wilde is the prime candidate. I wish there was something good I could tell you about this book. I mean, I quite like the colour of the edging of the text block, but there is so much wrong here. It's difficult to know where to begin. I will start with the amount it tries to cram in to such a small space. The novel is only 157 pages long, yet there are 17 chapters. Those chapters are divided into 5 parts, and each of those 5 parts is preceded by a quotation from Descartes, Shakespeare, the Bible, Herman Melville, and Plato. Just in terms of the scope of ambition that there must have been for this novel compared to the rush in execution, which is all too evident, is a large chasm the size of the Mariana Trench. There is a story of Robert Wilde's family breakup. This is largely unresolved. He misses his son. His son really isn't mentioned after the first 100 pages. The crisis in the seas is demonstrated through some coordinated attacks by marine life, and then is really unexplained in any satisfactory way. The lust for power from the especially the 3 heads of the world government is unexplained. The futuristic dystopia which the novel presents is underwhelming. There is the usual societal control over sex, control over drugs, but no reason for any of this ever seems to be given. And it still takes 5 days to arrange passage from America to the Caribbean, which I should imagine is, what it might have taken to the time it might have taken to book a holiday to the Caribbean back in 1967. As far as characterisation goes, our hero is sturdy but not inspiring. His sidekick in the Caribbean is worthy but not inspiring. The evil head of the world government has no defining characteristics other than we know that he's evil because his name starts with a Z. There are the male characters in this book, and there are breasts. The breasts are attached to female characters, but that doesn't really seem to be important. The female characters are introduced, they have breasts, and they then leave or die. At the end of this book, Robert Wilde gives his reasons why the harvest in the sea is failing, and these reasons are rejected as it was intimated that they would be. The world government seems to collapse in a day, a little while after, and civilization collapses less than a week later, and everything is wrapped up in a very speedy couple of pages. I haven't got much good to say about this book, but what I will say is, counterintuitively, I wish that it was actually longer, because there is some good stuff in there that, if it had been teased out into a longer narrative and threads followed through to more satisfying conclusions, then we may have had a better result. But as it is, I will regale you with a reading which occurred 17 pages in, and which is probably the point that I realised this book wasn't going to be for me. Zahn was quick to grasp the significance of what this would mean in terms of governmental structure. See, Zahn's got Z, so he's the bad guy. A man or group of men who could promise a starving population food would be all-powerful. His plan was to unleash the fury of the people against the sea farmers and reduce their number by half, then destroy an equal number of the people who were not sea farmers so that the total population would be halved. He's like some crap aquatic Thanos. Those who remained with him would have enough food, and he and the men with him would be the absolute power. The prospect of having so much power at his disposal had an almost orgasmic effect upon him. His body trembled and his breath came in short gasps, but the thrill was purely psychological. Zahn was impotent. Irving A. Greenfield is still with us, so I won't say anything more bad about the man. There seems to be a number of books that he's written. Ancient of Days, the Chronicles of Roystrom the Builder, Barracuda, which looks to be a naval Cold War book, some westerns, lots of naval thrillers, what looks like a sort of sexy horror book called Succubus, and possibly the only one I might be interested in reading other than this, I'm a glutton for punishment, Aton, which seems to be his caveman novel. But there you are, The Wasted Weekend. We can't say that we weren't warned. Bye.